The Mountain Within You Introduction. There is a version of you that the world has never met, not because it is weak and not because it is unworthy, but because it has been living beneath layers of learned restraint, emotional conditioning, and invisible fear. Long before you learned who you were, your nervous system learned how to survive. It learned what was safe, what was dangerous, what was allowed, and what must be hidden. And over time, survival quietly replaced selfhood. You were not raised to become your highest self. You were raised to become an acceptable self, a manageable self, a version of you that would not disturb, demand, or deeply challenge the emotional systems around you. Slowly, the bold parts of you were softened. The curious parts were quieted. The powerful parts were delayed. And the life you were meant to grow into became buried beneath the life you were trained to tolerate. Inside you exists a presence that has always known who you could become. It is the part of you that feels unsettled by comfort, restless in routine, and quietly dissatisfied with a life that merely functions but does not fulfill. That presence is not anxiety. It is memory. It is your original self reminding you of what you have not yet lived. The resistance you feel when you try to grow is not weakness. It is not laziness. It is not lack of discipline. It is emotional gravity. It is the weight of every unexpressed truth, every postponed desire, every adapted behavior that once kept you safe and now keeps you small. This weight is your mountain. This book is not written to entertain you. It is written to restore you. It is written to dismantle the internal systems that quietly limit your expansion. It is written to reconnect you with the internal authority you were conditioned to surrender. And most importantly, it is written to return you to yourself. You are not broken. You are conditioned, and conditioning can be reversed. Your life has not been limited by your circumstances. It has been shaped by your internal permissions. You have lived only as far as your nervous system has allowed you to feel safe becoming, and everything beyond that invisible border has felt like danger, even when it was destiny. Your mountain is not outside of you. It is inside you, and it is time to rise. Chapter 1. Your life is not the result of chance, luck, or circumstance. It is the visible outcome of invisible systems that have been operating within you since long before you had language, logic, or conscious choice. You have been living inside a structure that was built from emotional memory, conditioned belief, and learned survival strategies. And this structure has quietly governed what you attempt, what you avoid, what you tolerate, and what you believe you deserve. You are not born doubting your worth. You are not born negotiating your dreams. You are not born managing your voice, shrinking your desires, or measuring your presence. These were not inherent traits. They were adaptations. They were emotional survival responses shaped by your environment, your experiences, and the nervous systems you grew up around. Your nervous system learned the rules of belonging before your mind learned the rules of reasoning. It learned when love was available and when it was withdrawn. It learned what emotions were welcomed and which were punished. It learned how to stay included, how to avoid rejection, and how to minimize emotional risk. Over time, these lessons became unconscious laws. They became the emotional constitution that governs your behavior even now. This is why you do not simply choose your life. You enact it. Every habit you repeat, every pattern you remain loyal to, every comfort you protect, and every fear you avoid is an expression of your internal programming. You are not living from conscious will. You are living from emotional memory. You do not remain small because you lack ambition. You remain small because expansion feels unsafe to the body that learned how to survive in contraction. You do not delay your purpose because you are lazy. You delay it because stepping into visibility feels like emotional exposure. You do not sabotage your consistency because you lack discipline. You sabotage it because your nervous system associates change with loss of identity. Your mountain is not a single fear. It is an entire emotional architecture. It is the accumulated weight of learned rules, stored reactions, protective habits, and subconscious boundaries that define where you believe your life is allowed to go. You were taught, slowly and quietly, what kind of life you were permitted to live. You learned how much success was acceptable, how much happiness was realistic, how much peace was deserved, how much attention was safe, how much freedom was possible. And everything beyond those invisible borders began to feel dangerous, unrealistic, arrogant, or irresponsible, even when it was your true calling. This is why people often say they want more, yet emotionally retreat when more begins to arrive. This is why opportunities can feel overwhelming. This is why progress can feel heavy. This is why clarity can feel uncomfortable. This is why familiar pain can feel safer than unfamiliar peace. Your nervous system does not prioritize your growth. It prioritizes your emotional survival. And survival is loyal to what is familiar, not to what is expansive. Your mountain is the emotional identity that once protected you. It is the version of you that learned how to belong, how to stay accepted, how to avoid abandonment, how to manage conflict, and how to minimize emotional risk. It is not your enemy. It is your old guardian. But it is now governing a life that requires courage rather than concealment. Every time you hesitate before committing to your own potential, every time you delay your purpose, every time you settle for less than what your soul recognizes as truth, it is not because you are incapable. It is because your body believes that staying the same is safer than becoming someone new. Growth feels dangerous to a system that was trained to survive, not to thrive. This is why willpower alone eventually collapses. This is why motivation fades. This is why people repeat cycles they consciously wish to escape. You are not fighting habits. You are fighting identity, and identity always fights to survive. Your habits are not just behaviors. They are emotional agreements you have made with your past. They are promises your nervous system made to keep you safe. And breaking those agreements requires emotional courage, not just mental discipline. Transformation is not about force. It is about permission. It is about teaching your body that your expansion is not a threat. Your visibility is not dangerous. Your success does not require suffering. And your peace does not need justification. Your mountain is not made of weakness. It is made of memory, and memory can be rewritten. The process of rising is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you were before the world taught you to become smaller than your design. It is about slowly reclaiming the parts of you that were quieted, delayed, softened, or hidden in the name of belonging. You are not here to survive your life. You are here to inhabit it. Your desires are not random. They are reminders. Your restlessness is not dissatisfaction. It is direction. Your intuition is not imagination. It is recognition. The version of you that your soul knows is already real. It is simply waiting for your nervous system to learn that it is safe to live as that person. Your mountain does not exist to block you. It exists to build you. Every step you take upward is a step away from who you were conditioned to be, and a step toward who you were always meant to become. And this is only the beginning. Chapter 2. It does not arrive with fireworks or announcements. It arrives as a subtle dissatisfaction, a gentle restlessness, a silent question that lingers in the background of your days. You begin to sense that you are living within the shape of a life rather than inside the truth of one. You are functioning, performing, and surviving, but not fully inhabiting your own existence. This moment is not confusion. It is awakening. Your discomfort is not a flaw. It is a signal. It is your deeper self pressing gently against the emotional limits you were trained to accept. It is the original blueprint of who you are, reminding you that your life has more dimensions than the ones you are currently occupying. Yet, for most people, this moment becomes the beginning of a quiet internal war. One part of you longs to expand, to express, to rise into your potential. Another part of you tightens, resists, and pulls you back into the known. You feel torn between who you have been and who you sense you are becoming. This inner tension is not weakness. It is the natural friction between conditioning and calling. Your nervous system was designed to keep you alive, not to make you extraordinary. It does not measure success by fulfillment, meaning, or truth. It measures success by predictability, safety, and emotional familiarity. Anything that challenges your established identity feels like danger, even when it is growth. Anything that disrupts your known emotional environment feels like a threat, even when it is freedom. This is why transformation often feels uncomfortable before it feels empowering. This is why change can trigger anxiety before it brings peace. This is why new opportunities can feel overwhelming before they feel exciting. Your nervous system is attempting to protect a version of you that no longer represents your future. You are not resisting growth because you are afraid of success. You are resisting it because your body has learned to associate expansion with emotional risk. Visibility once meant vulnerability. Expression once meant judgment. Independence once meant abandonment. These experiences did not simply pass through you. They settled into you. They shaped the emotional boundaries of your life. Your mountain is reinforced by emotional memory. Every time you choose what is familiar over what is true, you are not making a conscious decision. You are following an emotional reflex. Every time you delay a dream, avoid a conversation, settle for less, or distract yourself from discomfort, you are protecting an internal structure that once kept you safe. This is why self-betrayal often feels calm. This is why self-loyalty can feel terrifying. You were taught what kind of happiness was acceptable, what kind of success was realistic, what kind of peace was possible, what kind of visibility was safe. Everything beyond those internal limits triggers emotional resistance, even when your mind desires it. This resistance is not punishment. It is conditioning. The awakening process is not about forcing yourself to change. It is about learning to recognize the emotional rules you have been living by. It is about noticing the invisible agreements you have made with fear, comfort, and familiarity. It is about gently questioning the internal voice that says, "This is just who you are." That voice is not your identity. It is your conditioning. The version of you that you have been living as is not false. It is incomplete. It was built to survive a world that required you to adapt. But it is not designed to carry the fullness of who you are becoming. Your restlessness is not dissatisfaction. It is remembrance. You are beginning to remember what it feels like to want more than safety. You are beginning to remember what it feels like to want truth, presence, meaning, and expansion. And your nervous system is learning, slowly and gently, that your life is no longer a threat. This is the first step up your mountain. Not action, not discipline, not force. Awareness. Awareness is the beginning of emotional freedom. Awareness is the moment you stop mistaking your conditioning for your character. Awareness is the moment you realize that the limitations you have been living within are not laws. They are habits. And habits can be rewritten. Your life has not been too small because you were unworthy. It has been small because your emotional system was trained to remain within invisible boundaries, and those boundaries are now dissolving. The quiet discomfort you feel is not the end of something. It is the beginning of your return. You are not losing your old self. You are outgrowing it. And your mountain is no longer a wall. It is becoming a path. Chapter 3. At some point in your journey, you begin to notice a quiet contradiction within yourself. You desire change, yet you protect what is familiar. You dream of expansion, yet you repeat patterns that keep your life predictable. You imagine a different future, yet you feel emotionally loyal to a past that no longer fits who you are becoming. This contradiction is not confusion. It is the meeting place between who you were trained to be and who you were meant to become. Your conditioning did not disappear when you became an adult. It matured with you. It became more subtle, more refined, more logical. It learned to speak in responsible language. It learned to disguise fear as practicality, limitation as realism, and emotional avoidance as patience. It became the internal voice that tells you to wait, to be careful, to not rush, to not want too much, to not disturb your comfort. And so you continue living within familiar emotional borders, while telling yourself you are being reasonable. Your mountain is not dramatic. It is quiet. It feels like common sense. It sounds like responsibility. It feels like stability. It looks like adulthood. But beneath that calm surface is an emotional contract you made long ago with safety. You did not choose this contract consciously. It was written for you by experience, by repetition, by emotional association. It was written by what once hurt you, what once rejected you, what once overwhelmed you, and what once made you feel unseen. It taught your nervous system what to expect from life and how much of yourself you were allowed to express. And now that contract governs your choices. You do not merely choose your routines. Your routines choose you. You do not simply tolerate certain relationships. Your emotional identity selects them. You do not randomly fall into familiar cycles. Your nervous system recreates emotional environments that feel like home, even when they are painful. This is why people often feel strangely comfortable in situations that limit them. This is why they stay loyal to patterns that quietly drain them. This is why they return to environments that do not nourish them. The nervous system seeks emotional familiarity before it seeks emotional health. Your mountain is built from emotional familiarity. And familiarity feels like truth. This is why your mind can want more while your body resists it. This is why your vision can be clear while your emotions feel heavy. This is why you can understand your patterns intellectually while still repeating them unconsciously. You are not inconsistent. You are emotionally loyal. You are loyal to the version of you that learned how to belong, how to stay included, how to minimize rejection, and how to avoid emotional exposure. And loyalty, even when unconscious, is powerful. The path upward requires a new form of courage, not loud courage, not dramatic courage, but quiet courage. The courage to disappoint your old identity, the courage to outgrow emotional rules that once protected you, the courage to choose unfamiliar peace over familiar pain. This is the moment where many people turn back. Not because the climb is impossible, but because becoming someone new feels like losing who they were. It feels like betrayal. It feels like abandonment. It feels like stepping into a life without emotional armor. But you are not betraying your past self. You are freeing your future self. Your mountain is not punishing you. It is testing your loyalty. Will you remain loyal to who you were, or will you become loyal to who you are becoming? This choice does not arrive as a dramatic decision. It arrives as small daily moments, Moments where you can choose truth instead of comfort, presence instead of distraction, responsibility instead of avoidance, expansion instead of safety. Every small choice becomes a step upward. Every step upward retrains your nervous system. Every step upward teaches your body that your growth is not a threat. Every step upward rewrites the emotional contract that once defined your life. Your mountain is not meant to be climbed in a day. It is meant to be lived upward, and the higher you go, the more your true self begins to breathe. Chapter 4. There is a silent threshold that appears in every genuine transformation. It is not marked by celebration or applause. It is marked by discomfort. It is the moment when your old emotional identity begins to loosen its grip and your future identity has not yet fully formed. You stand in between what is familiar and what is possible. You no longer feel at home in who you were, but you have not yet learned to feel safe in who you are becoming. This in-between state is where most people retreat, not because the future is wrong, but because the present feels unstable. Your nervous system craves emotional predictability. It prefers a known pain to an unknown peace. It would rather tolerate familiar dissatisfaction than risk unfamiliar fulfillment. And so, when you begin to grow, your body may respond with anxiety, fatigue, doubt, hesitation, or the urge to return to what once felt safe. This is not failure. This is recalibration. Your internal world is adjusting to a new standard of being. You are not losing your old self. You are loosening your attachment to it. And attachment, when it dissolves, feels like grief. You may grieve old habits, old relationships, old comforts, old versions of yourself that once felt like home. You may feel moments of loneliness, not because you are alone, but because your internal world is reorganizing. You may feel uncertain, not because you are lost, but because your nervous system is learning new emotional rules. Your mountain is reshaping you from the inside. This is where emotional maturity is born. Not from achievement, but from awareness. Not from control, but from self-respect. Not from external success, but from internal stability. The real work of transformation is not becoming more impressive. It is becoming more integrated. It is aligning your actions with your values, your habits with your truth, your boundaries with your worth, and your life with your soul. This requires emotional sovereignty. Emotional sovereignty is the ability to remain grounded in your truth without needing permission, approval, or validation to exist as yourself. It is the ability to choose what nourishes you rather than what simply feels familiar. It is the ability to hold your own emotional authority. When you begin to live from emotional sovereignty, your life changes quietly but profoundly. You stop negotiating your needs. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop abandoning yourself for acceptance. You stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. You begin to live in alignment rather than accommodation. Your decisions become cleaner. Your boundaries become calmer. Your presence becomes steadier. Your self-respect becomes visible. And most importantly, your nervous system begins to feel safe in expansion. You are teaching your body that your peace is not dangerous, that your clarity is not a threat, that your success does not require suffering, that your joy does not need permission. Your mountain is no longer just resistance. It is becoming refinement. You are no longer climbing to escape your life. You are climbing to embody it. And as you rise, you do not become louder. You become clearer. You do not become harder. You become stronger. You do not become distant. You become anchored. This is the chapter of stabilization. This is where your becoming gains roots. And roots allow you to grow without falling back. Chapter 5. As you continue upward, a subtle but profound shift begins to take place within you. The struggle that once defined your growth slowly gives way to a quieter, steadier form of strength. You are no longer fighting yourself at every step. You are beginning to walk with yourself. Your nervous system is learning a new rhythm. Your inner world is reorganizing around truth rather than fear, around clarity rather than conditioning, around alignment rather than adaptation. This is the stage where discipline transforms from force into self-respect. In the beginning, discipline feels like resistance. It feels like effort, pressure, and obligation. It feels like pushing against old habits and emotional gravity. But as your internal world stabilizes, discipline becomes something entirely different. It becomes an act of loyalty to your future. It becomes a quiet promise you keep to yourself. It becomes a reflection of your values, rather than a punishment for your weaknesses. You no longer wake up asking what you feel like doing. You wake up asking what kind of person you are choosing to be. This is not rigidity. It is identity. Your habits are no longer tools to fix you. They are expressions of who you are becoming. You begin to move through your days with intention rather than impulse, with presence rather than distraction, with clarity rather than confusion. Your life becomes quieter but deeper, simpler but stronger, calmer but more powerful. You begin to notice that your time is sacred. Your energy is valuable. Your attention is meaningful. You stop spending your inner resources on emotional noise. You stop negotiating with self-doubt. You stop entertaining internal chaos. Your nervous system has learned that stability is safe, and it no longer needs to pull you back into familiar disruption. Your mountain is becoming a foundation. This is where your self-trust is rebuilt. Self-trust is not confidence. It is consistency. It is the quiet knowledge that you will show up for your own life even when it is uncomfortable. It is the certainty that your word to yourself matters. It is the understanding that your future is shaped by your present alignment. When self-trust is present, your decisions become cleaner. Your boundaries become natural. Your goals become grounded. You stop overthinking your worth and start embodying it. You no longer need to prove yourself. You no longer need to convince anyone. You no longer need to explain your growth. Your life begins to speak for you. You are no longer climbing to escape pain. You are climbing to build permanence. Your inner world becomes stable enough to hold the life you once dreamed of. Your peace becomes steady enough to remain in success. Your identity becomes strong enough to sustain expansion. Your mountain is no longer a test. It is your training ground. And you are no longer becoming. You are being. Chapter 6. At this stage of your journey, the climb is no longer defined by struggle. It is defined by awareness. You have begun to recognize the patterns that once controlled you, the emotional reflexes that once pulled you backward, and the invisible rules that once limited your life. You have learned that your mountain was never meant to be destroyed, only understood, navigated, and transcended. The true transformation happens when you begin to inhabit your own authority. Not the authority granted by others, not the authority dictated by circumstance, but the authority that exists quietly within you. This is the authority that says, I will define my boundaries. I will govern my choices. I will honor my growth. It is the authority that allows you to move through the world with steadiness and clarity, regardless of external chaos. You begin to understand that fear is never the enemy. Fear is a signal. It is your body and mind alerting you that something significant is happening. Fear becomes a compass rather than a jailer. Every time fear arises, you no longer retreat. You observe it, measure it, and step forward anyway. In doing so, you retrain your nervous system to recognize that expansion does not equal danger, that visibility does not equal vulnerability, and that freedom does not require suffering. At this level, discipline and self-mastery become seamless. Your actions are no longer random or reactive. They are intentional. They are aligned with the person you are becoming, not the person you were conditioned to be. You stop negotiating with your potential. You stop delaying your purpose. You stop tolerating what does not serve your highest self. Your mountain is no longer an obstacle to resist. It is a guide, showing you where your growth must focus, where your inner work is required, and where your courage must be tested. The higher you climb, the more you understand that the weight you once felt was never meant to crush you. It was meant to train you, refine you, and prepare you for the life you were always meant to lead. At this stage, you also begin to witness the subtle shifts in your environment. People, situations, and circumstances begin to align with your growth, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. Your clarity, presence, and emotional sovereignty attract the life that matches your inner authority. You no longer chase validation. You no longer seek permission. You no longer settle for less. The mountain within you now becomes a mirror, reflecting your growth back at you. It shows you your strength, your resilience, your courage, and your capacity for greatness. You realize that every previous limitation, every internal battle, every moment of hesitation was part of the preparation for this stage of clarity and power. And in this understanding, you begin to move with elegance rather than struggle. You climb with purpose rather than force. You rise with certainty rather than fear. You are no longer defined by your mountain. You are defined by your ascent. Your journey is no longer about survival. It is about embodiment. It is about mastery. It is about becoming the person your potential always demanded you to be. When you look back, the mountain is no longer a weight. It is proof. Proof that you endured, that you transformed, and that you are now fully capable of standing in the life you were meant to create. You have endured, observed, and transformed in ways that are invisible to most people, but undeniable to yourself. The journey inward has reshaped your perception, your priorities, and your emotional architecture. You understand that the climb is never merely about achieving goals, acquiring skills, or gaining external recognition. The climb is about becoming sovereign over yourself, sovereign over your mind, your emotions, and your life. At this stage, you begin to perceive your mountain differently. It is no longer a weight pressing down on you, nor a series of obstacles designed to break you. It is a teacher, a mirror, and a guide. Every resistance you encounter, every doubt that arises, every moment of hesitation is a lesson disguised as difficulty. The mountain is not here to stop you. It is here to show you how much you are willing to carry, how much you are willing to endure, and how committed you are to becoming your highest self. You realize that the true battle has never been external. It has never been about circumstances, relationships, or competition. The true battle has always been internal. It has been the fight against emotional inertia, subconscious limitations, and the subtle, relentless pull of familiarity. Your mountain is the collection of every fear, habit, and pattern that once defined what you believed was possible for yourself. Climbing it is not about removing those fears or erasing those habits. It is about rising in spite of them, about transforming them into allies rather than enemies. At this stage, your understanding of fear, discomfort, and resistance evolves. Fear is no longer a signal to retreat. It is a signal to engage, to lean into the parts of yourself that have been dormant, silenced, or overlooked. Discomfort is no longer punishment. It is evidence that you are moving beyond the boundaries of your conditioning. Resistance is no longer an obstacle. It is a checkpoint, a measure of your growth, and a reminder that the path to transformation is never effortless. You begin to move with deliberate awareness. Every decision you make, every action you take, is guided not by reaction but by intention. You have learned to distinguish between the voices of conditioning and the voice of your true self. You can now identify which urges are attempts to protect you from discomfort and which desires are calls to expansion. This clarity allows you to navigate life with precision and purpose. You are no longer pulled by old emotional reflexes. You are guided by conscious choice. At this stage, the mountain also teaches you patience. Real transformation cannot be rushed. Your nervous system, your mind, and your identity all require time to integrate the new standards of living, being, and growing. Progress is not measured in dramatic leaps or sudden breakthroughs. It is measured in consistency, presence, and alignment. Every small act of discipline, every moment you choose truth over comfort, every time you honor your own word, strengthens the foundation upon which your future is built. You begin to see that your life is a reflection of the person you are becoming, not the person you were trained to be. Your environment shifts because you have shifted. Your energy changes, attracting circumstances, people, and opportunities that resonate with your elevated state. Your boundaries are no longer imposed by fear. They are defined by clarity. Your actions are no longer reactive. They are intentional. Your presence is no longer dependent on approval. It is grounded in self-respect. And yet, even as you rise, the mountain reminds you that mastery is not perfection. It is awareness. It is resilience. It is the ability to confront your shadows without being consumed by them, to navigate uncertainty without being paralyzed by it, and to remain committed to growth even when progress feels invisible. The mountain does not reward speed. It rewards courage, consistency, and the refusal to abandon yourself in the face of difficulty. You begin to realize that the climb is not about reaching a summit. The summit is a concept. The climb itself is the destination. Every step upward, every challenge embraced, every fear confronted becomes the manifestation of your potential. You do not climb to escape who you are. You climb to embody who you are meant to be. At this level, your inner dialogue shifts profoundly. You no longer question your worth. You no longer debate whether you are capable. You no longer measure yourself against the standards of others. You speak to yourself with authority, with respect, and with expectation. You are no longer negotiating with your limitations. You are acknowledging them, working with them, and gradually outgrowing them. Your mountain is no longer external. It is internal. And internal mastery is the highest form of freedom. It is the freedom to act without fear, to choose without hesitation, to speak without compromise, and to live without apology. The mountain within you has become a teacher of power, a witness to courage, and a canvas upon which you are painting the masterpiece of your life. And in this realization, you understand that your climb is not just personal. It is universal. Every human being faces their own mountain, their own invisible barriers, their own conditioned patterns that limit possibility. Your journey, while uniquely yours, resonates with the fundamental truth of existence. The only true obstacle is the one within, and the only true path to greatness is through it. You begin to see that mastery is not the absence of difficulty. It is the ability to navigate difficulty without surrender. It is the capacity to transform challenges into opportunities, resistance into insight, and fear into fuel. Every step upward is an act of courage. Every moment of presence is a declaration of your sovereignty. Every choice made from alignment rather than reaction is proof of your evolution. At this stage, you no longer climb because you have to. You climb because you choose to. You climb because your potential demands it. You climb because your life, your values, and your purpose call you higher. And with every step, the mountain ceases to be a burden. It becomes a partner. It becomes a mirror. It becomes a reflection of your growth, your strength, and your commitment to your own becoming. You are no longer at the mercy of your conditioning. You are no longer confined by fear. You are no longer limited by the invisible chains of familiarity. You are climbing with awareness. You are rising with purpose. You are becoming with authority. And in this climb, the mountain within you has revealed its ultimate truth. It was never meant to stop you. It was meant to awaken you. Chapter right. At last, you have arrived at the edge of understanding, at the point where the climb ceases to feel like a struggle and begins to feel like mastery. But mastery is not a destination. It is not a summit to stand upon and declare victory. Mastery is a state of being. It is the integration of everything you have learned, endured, and reclaimed along the way. It is the alignment of your mind, your emotions, and your actions with the highest vision of yourself. The mountain within you has taught you more than courage. It has taught you clarity. It has taught you patience, presence, and precision. It has shown you that the barriers you once feared were never external. They were internal. They were never designed to stop you. They were designed to awaken you. Every fear you faced, every moment of doubt, every internal resistance was a lesson. Every hesitation was an invitation to rise. Every old pattern was a message pointing you toward your own potential. You are no longer climbing blindly. You are climbing consciously. Every step is intentional. Every breath is measured. Every thought is aligned with your highest self. You do not merely move through life. You inhabit it fully, completely, with authority. You are no longer negotiating with the world. You are negotiating with yourself, and for the first time, you choose generously. You choose courage. You choose clarity. You choose growth. You choose freedom. By now, you understand that the climb is not linear. Progress is not measured by how quickly you reach a peak. It is measured by how faithfully you engage with the ascent, by how consistently you act in alignment with your truth, by how fully you honor the being you are becoming. The mountain has no shortcuts. It does not reward impatience. It does not accept excuses. It does not negotiate with fear. It requires presence, attention, and integrity. And in exchange, it delivers transformation. Your nervous system, once loyal only to safety, now responds to possibility. Your mind, once confined by conditioning, now sees potential where it once saw limitation. Your heart, once cautious and protective, now beats in rhythm with your purpose. You are no longer a passenger in your life. You are the navigator. You are the author. You are the force shaping your own destiny. And yet, with all this growth, humility emerges. You realize that the mountain is infinite. There is always a higher perspective, a deeper understanding, a greater truth. You learn to embrace both the journey and the climb, the struggle and the victory, the challenge and the reward. You no longer fear what lies ahead. You no longer doubt your capacity. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. You are grounded in the authority of your own becoming. This chapter of your journey is not about achievement. It is about embodiment. It is about living in alignment with your own principles, in harmony with your own vision, and in service to your highest potential. You have climbed not to escape who you were, but to embrace who you are. You have transformed not to impress the world, but to honor yourself. You have risen not because the climb is easy, but because you refuse to remain small. The mountain within you is no longer a barrier. It is a reflection. It mirrors the strength you cultivated, the courage you claimed, the discipline you embodied, and the wisdom you earned. Every scar, every hesitation, every doubt, every struggle is now evidence of your ascent. And as you gaze upon it, you realize that the summit is not a place. It is a state of consciousness, a way of being, a commitment to live fully, freely, and courageously. You now understand that true freedom is not external. It does not come from circumstances, from accolades, from validation, or from achievement. True freedom comes from mastery over yourself. It comes from knowing that you will show up for your life no matter what. It comes from the unwavering commitment to act from integrity rather than impulse, from clarity rather than fear, from purpose rather than reaction. Your mountain has given you power. Your mountain has given you vision. Your mountain has given you sovereignty. Your mountain has given you life. And now, as you stand upon the summit of your own becoming, you feel it clearly. Nothing outside of you has the power to limit you unless you permit it. No fear can control you unless you honor it. No circumstance can define you unless you consent. You are free to act, to choose, and to create in alignment with the being you have climbed to become. The journey will continue. The climb is infinite. There will always be new heights, new challenges, and new mountains within. But now, you have learned the most important truth. You are stronger than your fears, wiser than your doubts, and capable of navigating any ascent. You are no longer defined by who you were. You are defined by who you are choosing to be. Rise with intention. Climb with courage. Live with purpose. The mountain within you has revealed its ultimate secret. It was never an obstacle to block your path. It was the path itself. And every step, every struggle, every choice, every climb has brought you here to yourself, fully awakened, fully aligned, and fully alive. You are not just surviving, you are becoming. You are not just moving upward, you are ascending. You are not just climbing a mountain, you are embodying the summit of your own life. And now it is time to live it. The summit is not a final point. It is a perspective, a state of consciousness, a way of moving through the world with intention and authority. The mountain within you has shown you your capacity, your courage, and your potential. Now it is time to live what you have become. Transformation is not complete until it is actionable. It is not sufficient to understand your patterns, to observe your fears, or to feel inspired by the climb. True mastery is measured by what you do with your awareness. It is measured by how consistently you apply your courage, how deliberately you act in alignment with your values, and how fully you inhabit the life you were meant to lead. Awareness without action is admiration without achievement. Knowledge without embodiment is a mountain admired from below, not climbed. You have learned that resistance is not your enemy. It is your teacher. You have learned that discomfort is not punishment. It is your compass. You have learned that fear is not failure. It is a signal of expansion. Now you must integrate these truths into the architecture of your life. Every decision, every habit, every interaction becomes a choice point. Will you move forward or retreat? Will you honor your growth or betray it? Will you act from courage or from conditioning? The greatest act of courage is not in grand gestures or dramatic leaps. It is in the daily practice of alignment. It is in choosing clarity over confusion. It is in choosing presence over distraction. It is in choosing growth over familiarity. Every morning you rise and honor your potential. Every choice you make in alignment with your truth. Every refusal to compromise your integrity strengthens the foundation of the life you are creating. Your mountain has taught you patience. Transformation does not happen overnight. Emotional mastery, self-trust, and authentic power take time to cultivate. Every small step is part of the ascent. Every challenge is a lesson. Every discomfort is a signal of expansion. Celebrate the small victories. Honor your progress. Respect the climb. The summit is not a place. It is a culmination of consistent commitment to yourself. At this stage, you also understand the power of reflection. Reflection is not self-criticism. It is not dwelling on mistakes. It is observation, learning, and refinement. Every moment of hesitation, every lapse into old patterns, every shadow of fear is an opportunity to retrain your nervous system, to strengthen your resolve, and to deepen your alignment. Reflection allows you to navigate life with precision rather than reaction, with clarity rather than impulse, with sovereignty rather than compromise. The mountain within you is also a mirror for others. As you rise, your presence begins to inspire, whether you intend it or not. People will notice your steadiness, your clarity, your courage, and your self-respect. They will be drawn to your energy, not because you seek approval, but because you embody integrity. Your ascent becomes a signal that growth is possible, that courage is contagious, and that transformation is achievable. By mastering yourself, you illuminate the path for others. Your life becomes a living testament to the principles you have learned. Discipline, clarity, courage, alignment, emotional sovereignty. These are no longer abstract concepts. They are woven into the fabric of your daily existence. You do not need to announce your growth. It is visible in the way you move, the decisions you make, and the energy you bring to every interaction. Your life speaks louder than any words ever could. And yet, mastery is not about perfection. It is about resilience, integration, and continuous ascent. You will encounter challenges. You will feel fear. You will face moments of doubt. But now, these are no longer threats. They are invitations. Invitations to apply your principles. Invitations to step fully into your authority. Invitations to expand beyond what you thought possible. Your mountain continues to test you, not to punish you, but to prepare you for the next level of life, the next height of growth, the next horizon of your potential. Now is the moment to act deliberately, to integrate knowledge into behavior, to embody the courage, clarity, and sovereignty that you have cultivated. Set clear intentions, honor your boundaries, and commit to consistent action. Refuse to settle for what is comfortable. Seek what is meaningful. Create what is extraordinary. Lead with presence, act with authority, and live with purpose. The mountain within you is no longer a barrier. It is your foundation. It is your compass. It is the measure of your own potential. Every step you take, every choice you make, every act of courage is a declaration. You are no longer defined by fear, limitation, or conditioning. You are defined by alignment, integrity, and the conscious creation of your own life. Rise with intention. Act with clarity. Speak with authority. Live with courage. The mountain has given you everything you need. Now it is time to give yourself everything you are capable of being. The journey is infinite. The climb continues. And the life you are meant to live is already waiting for you at every step. You have learned. You have transformed. And yet, the ultimate truth of the mountain within you is this: the climb never truly ends. The mountain is infinite, not because the summit is unreachable, but because your potential is boundless. Every peak you reach reveals a higher one. Every challenge you overcome reveals a greater one. Every fear you conquer uncovers a deeper reservoir of courage. This chapter is not about repetition. It is about embodiment. It is about living the ascent as a constant state of being, not a series of milestones. It is about refusing to return to the smaller, conditioned self, even when comfort calls, even when fear whispers, even when the world expects you to shrink. By now, you understand that true power is quiet, not loud. It is the authority to act with clarity, the discipline to show up consistently, and the courage to face yourself fully without compromise. Your mountain is no longer an obstacle. It is your teacher, your mirror, and your path. The higher you climb, the more visible your growth becomes, not for recognition, but because presence is the natural outcome of alignment. Every choice you make now carries weight. Every habit you cultivate, every thought you nurture, every action you take becomes part of the architecture of your life. You no longer live from reaction. You live from intention. You no longer live by approval. You live by integrity. You no longer negotiate your value. You claim it consistently in every moment. The mountain has revealed one undeniable truth. Growth requires courage, and courage requires action. Awareness alone is insufficient. Motivation alone is fleeting. Discipline alone is brittle. Mastery emerges when clarity meets consistent action, when principles are embodied rather than admired, when potential is acted upon rather than postponed. At this stage, the climb becomes sacred. You begin to perceive life differently. Challenges are no longer burdens. They are invitations. Fear is no longer a barrier. It is a compass pointing toward expansion. Resistance is no longer punishment. It is a measure of your commitment. And discomfort is no longer your enemy. It is your teacher. Every difficulty, every doubt, every inner struggle becomes fuel, not friction, propelling you toward a life of meaning, presence, and extraordinary achievement. You are no longer the person who feared failure. You are no longer the person who hid behind comfort. You are no longer the person whose potential was constrained by conditioning. You are the architect of your life. You are the navigator of your destiny. You are the embodiment of your highest self. And yet, mastery is not about self-aggrandizement. It is not about perfection or constant victory. It is about integration. It is about aligning your actions with your values, your thoughts with your truth, and your life with your vision. It is about living so fully, so intentionally, so consciously, that your existence becomes a living testament to what it means to rise above fear, limitation, and conditioning. Now, you understand the final principle of the mountain within you. You are limitless, but you must act. Your potential will not climb itself. Your courage will not manifest itself without practice. Your truth will not embody itself without commitment. And your life, the one you were always meant to lead, will not unfold without deliberate, consistent, and conscious effort. Every morning is an opportunity. Every decision is a chance. Every action is a step. Choose clarity. Choose courage. Choose alignment. Choose presence. Choose growth. Choose the life that reflects the summit of your potential. And when doubt arises, remember this: the mountain was never meant to stop you. It was meant to awaken you. Every obstacle was training. Every struggle was preparation. Every fear was a signal. And every step upward, no matter how difficult, has brought you closer to the person you were always meant to become. Your ascent is ongoing. Your potential is infinite. Your life is waiting. And now, it is your responsibility to rise fully into it. Rise. You is passion. Embody. Live. Because the mountain within you has already revealed the ultimate truth, you are not limited by fear, circumstance, or conditioning. You are only limited by hesitation. Step forward. Step upward. Step into everything you are capable of being. and never stop climbing. Conclusion: the mountain within you is not a barrier. It is a reflection, a teacher, and a guide. Every fear you have faced, every limitation you have challenged, every moment of resistance you have overcome has been preparing you for this exact moment. You are no longer the person who hesitated. You are no longer defined by doubt or conditioned limitations. You are stronger, wiser, and more capable than you have ever realized. The journey does not end here. Life will continue to present challenges, obstacles, and moments of discomfort. But now, you have the tools, the awareness, and the courage to meet them fully. You have learned that growth is not linear, that fear is not an enemy, and that your true potential lies on the other side of resistance. Your mountain is infinite, but so is your capacity to rise. Every step forward is proof of your strength. Every choice in alignment with your truth is a declaration of your sovereignty. Every act of courage is a statement that you will no longer settle for less than what you are capable of becoming. Rise, climb, embody, live. The mountain within you has already revealed its greatest secret. The only limits that exist are the ones you accept. Everything else is possible. And now, it is your turn.